Good evening to all my fellow spiritually ratchet friends and family. Welcome to all of our new and curious. Just to catch you up, Spiritually Ratchet is a visual podcast that you can catch me on every Sunday evening live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. After that, I'll send out the audio podcast version on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else that the Anchor streaming allows me to stream to. So who's Spiritually Ratchet? I'm Spiritually Ratchet. I'm Arbra, not Barbara. And I'm on my walk. I'm on my spiritual path to a deeper relationship with God. But at the same time, I'm just like you. I'm a sinner. I have questions. I've got habits. I've got views. I've got experiences. And they're not all squeaky clean. So I created a safe place for me and for people like me to talk about it. This is a judge-free zone. We'll discuss things that are too holy for the ratchet and too taboo for the spiritual. There'll be strong language, trust me on that. There will be adult content. I swear to God, adult is probably not even a strong enough word. There will be unpopular opinions. So this is definitely for the 18 and up and not a place where if you don't mind discussing the hard stuff and being uncomfortable, you can leave now. But there also will be tons of jokes. There will be understanding. There will be building of bridges. There will be love. There will be prayer. And prayerfully, there will be healing. Thank you again for hanging out with me and enjoy the show.
Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. That thing seems longer and longer every week. I swear to God. Like I know what's coming next, so it's just long. But I have to get it all out there.
Yeah, I get it. I get it totally.
In case anybody hasn't seen our topic for today, I want to welcome Miss Shonda, and we're talking about mental health awareness.
Yes.
So today was mental health awareness, and I have you on for a reason. So let's tell everybody who you are, what you do, and let them figure out why you're here.
Hi, everyone. I am LaShonda Wooten. I am a clinical psychologist. I work with women who are dealing with transitional issues. I also work with a population that is we call it a severe and persistent mentally ill population. Those are the ones who suffer from like bipolar or psychosis, things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank
Bless
you,
you. Because yeah, I used to live with a bipolar person, and bless you. That's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Oh.
I felt like it was really important, especially with everybody going through COVID together, that this was something that we needed to talk about. Because I know for me personally, I need a lot of mental health days right now. So I'm sure other people do, and they might not even understand why. They might not understand that they do. So I just want to give this space to encourage somebody to get help, maybe teach somebody something that they can look for.
Yeah.
In other people. So let me start. My first question that I have for you, and we'll sure get some comments going here pretty soon. But my first question is, what is therapy? Because everybody just thinks it's going and laying on a couch.
Yeah. Although you can lay on a couch, I sometimes encourage it, especially for my women who don't get a lot of self-care. I might say, girl, get on that, just lay out on the couch. But that's not all it is. I like to say therapy is a safe space. It's a safe space for you to be vulnerable, for you to be your authentic self, for you to be heard in the most non-judgmental way. And more importantly, it's a space where you can spill all the tea and not worry about, like, you can spill all the tea and not worry about somebody looking like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. You can spill the tea is not going to go anywhere. It's just it's all about you. I'm a firm believer that everyone should have a space where they can feel their most vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It's also a space for you to, be able to process some of your emotions and your thoughts and triggers. So
I know I've always been a firm believer in therapy, and there's been points where I didn't go because I didn't want to talk, because I knew if I talked about it, I'd have to do something about it.
Right.
So what I think a lot of fear is, especially for people who have, I've tried this before and it didn't work. I think it was more so, not that it didn't work, but you were faced with having to deal with some stuff and it was really uncomfortable. And you didn't want to do it, or you only half-assed did it. And
all right, sis.
Hey, wait a minute. If you watched any of our shows, we have a bell that we keep on our desk. So when anybody makes a point that we really like, we ring the bell.
I'm loving it.
That's one of those things. You didn't put forth the effort. Now, I do coaching, and I mainly do business coaching and life alignment coaching, where, I work with different people on getting their personal, professional, and spiritual life in alignment. That being said, not only do I have a life that has been jacked up, that's why we have Spiritually Ratchet, but I deal with other people and their issues. So therapy is like super important to me, and I go on a regular basis. Wow. And I still get uncomfortable. And it's kind of funny because even sometimes my therapist is like, "What? Say that one more time." Yeah, you heard that correctly. That's what I did. That's what happened. Or it's just like, okay.
But don't you feel like, I don't know for you, but I'm hoping that you feel like that is a space where you can just, even if you've done something that you think your therapist might be like, "Oh Lord, you done this again," but that is a space where you feel like you can just share it and say, "You know what? I know we talked about that last week, but I've fallen again."
It is. It's, what I say, it's like, it's a better version of a Catholic confessional.
I love it. Girl, you are coming up with the phrases today.
But like, that's, we were talking about it a couple of shows ago. One of the guys on here was like, he's almost converted to Catholicism because you could get away with so much stuff by just going to, confession.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I do that every week. Because because I have triggers, and I have hairline triggers sometimes.
Okay. Come on, sis.
And, the people that you love are the ones that tap dance on those. And,
a lot of times.
Wait. So explain to people who might not understand what we're talking about, explain to them what a trigger is.
So a trigger is anything that gets your heart rate up. So it gets that fight or flight activated. Not anything that gets your heart rate up, because you can exercise and your heart rate would go up. But it's anything that activates that fight or flight response. So that fight or flight response, we call it the alarm reaction to stress. So something happens that may have happened way back when in your childhood that you don't even remember, but your body remembers it. So then you're faced with this situation and you're like, man, I straight up wigged out. And you can't figure out why you wigged out. And the reason you can't figure it out is because you somehow blocked it, but your body didn't. Your body remembered what it felt like to be threatened. So you either fight, you fight, or you flee, or you we call it the possum response. You just kind of shut down and roll over and play dead. And so again, a trigger is anything that basically gets that fight or flight response activated.
I know for me, some triggers can be sounds. Some people, it's noises, it's music, it's called by certain names. One of mine was being called by a certain name. And recently I got called that name and I had no response. And that freaks me out more than
you're like, what? Am I numb? What? I'm supposed to be upset.
I called my therapist and I was like, okay, so I didn't respond to it. It was okay. I didn't panic. And she's like, that's a good thing. She goes, that's what healing feels like. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Because you're so, I mean, let's just be honest. When we don't deal with stuff for so long, we become addicted to the pain that we've carried. And when we don't hold it anymore, we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Do with it. Girl, preach.
Well, I mean, I can only speak from personal experience, and I know it's really odd sensation all of a sudden not being bound by that.
Yes.
And I was excited. I was really excited for this show, and then the show I'm doing next week is going to be on domestic violence, and I feel like they both kind of go hand in hand. Because I've been in a domestic violence situation, and I have a lot of triggers from that.
Yeah.
And, the emotional scars and the mental abuse that goes along with it, a lot of people don't recognize.
Right.
So one of the posts that I posted the other day was, and actually I think I posted it today, communicate with me. Do not be silent. Because to me, because of my past, because of my triggers, silence is abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that. And they feel like, you're just being needy and this, that, and the other, and they dismiss you and they don't realize the harm that they're doing.
Yeah. And you're communicating with them what your triggers are. Like you're teaching them how to treat you. Like for me, silence doesn't work for me.
At all.
I feel, okay.
Yes.
This is very important.
Yeah. I didn't for a long time because I didn't know that was something that I was supposed to express to other people. Because, it was my issue. And I can't put that out on other people.
Sure.
But I had to learn that it was okay to explain. I mean, if I needed crutches or a wheelchair, I would explain that. Why wouldn't I tell them that, this bothers me and hurts me in some kind of way?
Exactly. I say all the time, we have to teach people how to treat us. Because a lot of times people don't mean any harm. They're just living their lives the way that they know how, the way that they were raised. And then you get them the way that they're raised. And then you get me the way I'm raised.
I can't hit this enough right now. Oh,
can you hear me?
Oh, yes. I'm saying I can't hit the bell enough right now. I need you to say that aloud for the people in the back.
For the people in the back. But so those triggers, it's amazing how two people with good hearts can trigger one another. Because a lot of times, we talk about toxicity and toxic relationships and things like that. But a lot of times the individual isn't necessarily toxic. It's the dynamic. You know what I mean? And so you got this person raised one way, you got this person raised another way, and you got this dynamic in the middle that's very toxic. But inherently, these two people are good people. It's just something, it's not fitting. So,
yes. I feel like I'm so guilty of that. I feel like I'm extremely guilty of that because I know I'm a great person.
Yeah.
I'll accept that. But I think I've got a few traits that are not so great. That are not so great.
At least you can own it.
I mean, I definitely have to own it because sometimes they come out and they come out strong. So I have to admit that part. But like I've learned that the way people are raised has a big thing to do with how they handle relationships and how emotional well-being. And a lot of it is passed down and they're not aware of it.
Exactly.
So I know you said you worked with bipolar, and I know that that's something that can be inherited. Can you tell me a little bit about what bipolar is?
So bipolar is basically, you can have hypomanic or you can have manic or you can have a depressed type. So bipolar is basically you're on this continuum, and some days you find that your emotions are fluctuating. So it's like one day you're like cruising, things are good, and it's like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. And then the next minute You may find yourself impulsive. You may find yourself irritable, angry, lashing out at folks, and you cannot quite figure out what just happened. And so there's a chemical, something that's going off in this brain that's causing it.
Mm.
Aside from the chemical, you also have like environmental stressors. So you get the chemical imbalance, the environmental stressors, relationship issues, everything that's going on in the world today. You have a recipe for a situation.
And
And so,
then because we like to self-medicate, add alcohol and drugs to that, and it's
and-
just real fun.
yes, 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 yes. And so a lot of times my clients who are bipolar, they love the manic part because that mania is so you're
It's
so
so much fun.
energized. Huh?
It's fun.
Yes.
Oh, it's fun. He was great. He was great when he was manic, but
Yes.
in the
But
sexual
then when you, but then when you take that dip, like when you go into that depressed part. So if you're up here and then you have to come back down here, it's hard. It's hard because you're living on the edge. You excited, you on a 10. You're the king of the world.
then that drop happens.
And that drop happens, and it's like you in a funk that you feel like you just cannot get out of.
And then the two that I remember dealing with the most was seasonal,
Okay.
and then sundown.
And sundown.
So things would change from day to night. I had a different person during the day than I did at night. And then towards the fall, right around September, October,
Oh, it was tough, wasn't it?
it was a constant down, and it got real
Yeah.
ugly for a long time. And
Mhm.
that was it took years to figure that out
Mm.
because
So-
we'd be medicated for so long and then stop medication because I felt great and I'm doing fine and I've learned how to handle this so I can quit taking medication. That's it.
Mhm. Mm.
So, yeah.
How long were you what was it like for you to live in that space with?
I lived in that space for 12 years.
Okay. That was a
And
long time.
yeah, I was young and didn't know any better.
Mhm.
Some of it was absolutely great. I couldn't trade it for the world. Like we had
Yeah.
some really good times, but then there was that downside, that bad part was okay, who's gonna die? Like somebody's gonna die at the end of this, and I don't know who it's gonna be anymore.
Yeah.
So it got rough. But I thought, because I didn't understand what bipolar was, I didn't understand the effects that it was having on me. I thought I could love you enough.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't matter what I did. It wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't right enough. It wasn't enough. But I didn't understand that at the time.
Gotcha.
It took years to get there. And then it was, okay, well, it's medical. And you can't leave somebody because it's a medical issue. And there was always a reason. I always gave an excuse why I accepted the crap. And then I finally just had to let that hurt go.
You had to go. Yeah.
I had to let it go because it was hurting me in more ways than it would have ever benefited me. And then it was passing down because then we had a kid and it was passing down. And I couldn't live like that and have my child watch.
Yeah, I get that. And let me make mention because a lot of people who have bipolar are living good, are living well. They're taking their meds, they're in therapy, they're practicing self-care. So I don't want it to sound like like the bipolar clients are like, oh my God, because a lot of them are living quite well.
It was great.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't ask for a better person when we were properly medicated and in therapy and all that. You couldn't have gotten a better person.
Yeah.
It was just when unmedicated and when things went down, they don't have the ability to control it.
Yeah.
And that's where my heart was all torn up because I'm like, okay, but he can't help it.
Yeah.
But and then I got bruises and marks and incident reports, and I don't need that either. So
Because you got to save yourself too.
right. So I mean, it took a long time to finally just get to the point where I decided to put my well-being up front. And as a female and as a mom, that's what we don't do.
Yeah.
And you feel guilty when you do it. So that's something that a lot of women I know don't do it, but men at the same time don't either. They have to be the provider. And especially in our culture, if you cry, you're weak. If you have emotion, you're weak, and this, that, and the other. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And we dealt with it a lot when we were talking about relationships on the relationship show. Men are not taught to communicate or show emotion properly. So it's time to get into a relationship. They're all jacked up.
Wait, not jacked up, sis.
They are. They're
They're
so kind of stupid sometimes. I mean, like, I love my men. I love my brothers. I love men in general. I wouldn't want life without them because I don't like killing bugs or fixing cars. And I don't do artwork. So, like, men are necessary in my life.
Sure, I got you.
Yeah, I'm gonna need people to do better. I'm gonna need people to do better. I said the new sexy is a healing man.
Ooh, come on. Oh my gosh.
We all have a lot of trauma, and nobody's doing anything to fix it.
Even if you're open to the process of healing, because healing, I don't see healing as this destination. You know what I mean? But just being open to wellness and to healing and to managing your own triggers and taking responsibility for yourself and your triggers, girl. Oh my God.
Can you imagine what would happen if two people did that at the same time together?
Powerful. We talk about power couple.
That right there.
That's a power couple.
Hustle to go with it. Oh.
Yes.
I'm here for it. So if Ike is out there somewhere, I'm waiting.
You heard her. Oh, I love it.
Signs and symptoms that we can look for either in ourselves, but and I say we don't look at ourselves like that very often. So what could I look for in a family member or a friend?
Gotcha.
As well.
So I do not like to pathologize emotions because I think they're God-given. I think God gave us all of the emotions from anger to sadness to all of that. So before I say, oh, if this person's sad, they need to seek therapy. I don't look at it like that. If this person is sad for more days than,
more bad days than good days.
Yeah, more bad. Yes. Then you want to make sure you're seeking therapy. So you want to look for things like an increase in anger. So not that they're angry. So a person being angry doesn't necessarily mean that they're symptomatic. They're just angry because people can be angry. But you want to look for an increase in anger. You want to look for a person who is not able to manage the anger. You want to look for so people who are sad, who are isolating themselves, and not the introvert, but the person whose baseline is basically like, they like to hang out, and all of a sudden you notice a big change in their behavior. Yeah. So an increase in irritability, an increase in anger, increase in isolation, suicidal thoughts, sadness, tearfulness, not being able to sleep at night, and again, not like you've spent 2 days not being able to sleep, but this is happening like a lot. So 3 things you want to look at: the frequency of what's happening, the duration, how long does it happen when it's happening, and the intensity of it. So those are 3 things you want to look for in family members, or anybody. So just because a person is sad you wouldn't say that they're clinically diagnosed with anything. But again, if it's below their baseline and it has increased in frequency, intensity, and duration, then you want to seek out. And let me make this point, because it sounds like I'm saying, oh, only people who are sad needs therapy. Everybody can benefit from therapy. Everybody can benefit from therapy. You don't have to ding, 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 ding. You don't have to, right. You don't have to be clinically diagnosed with anything to benefit from therapy. It's just like the person who doesn't have diabetes who frequents the gym. They're going for their physical wellness to maintain physical wellness, not necessarily because they have diabetes and heart disease. So you want to look at therapy the same way. You might not go every week. You might say, you know what? I have clients right now. I might see them once a month. I might see them every 3 months. I might see them twice a year. They just keep me on retainer, not really retainer, but they keep me in their back pocket just in case.
I don't think I'm ready for that far out yet. I can pass that test.
Right. So everybody can benefit from it, not just the person who is experiencing like clinical depression or anxiety.
What about kids? Because I know I'm raising 2 boys, and Jesus,
she caught on the Lord, honey.
First of all, let me tell you that they eat you out of house and home. I don't know where it goes, but they are human garbage disposals, and I need a job for each of them just to feed them. But it's, as a single mom, it's important that I teach them what I can.
Yeah.
But and I have great male role models in their lives, but I also feel like it's important to maybe have an outside source.
Sure.
That they can kind of vent to, complain to without repercussion. Because mommy's friends or uncle or somebody will go back and tell.
Right.
And and we'll get into this because I have shows planned for this, but it's that what happens in this house stays in this house mentality.
Yes.
And I feel like it's important to break that generational cycle.
Right. Absolutely.
So I thought about the little one. I don't know. He might be too young to be in there, but I thought it would be good for my older one. He's about to be a teenager. He's I need somebody else to talk to him and tell him he's crazy.
Oh, not crazy.
It's I know, as a married woman, that was the whole point in going to therapy. I need somebody else to tell this man he was wrong.
Yeah. Now you need to hear from this professional. Then you'll believe me that something is wrong.
I felt justified as hell. I mean, I was right, but
she told you that's funny. I get that all the time. Like, tell him, Dr. Wooten. I'm like, let's bag it up a little bit, sis.
Technically, I was right. However, I learned that my approach was wrong. My tone was wrong. The venom in which I spewed, that rightness,
yes,
more damaging than being right. So yeah. So I'm trying not to I need to get them in therapy now.
So you're gonna learn. You learn from that one. From that, yeah.
Yes, and it was so funny because I always told my parents growing up, I was like, y'all need to go ahead and just don't save money for my wedding, save money for therapy.
Wait, you even told your parents that?
I told my parents because, and we'll get into my story one day because I'm going to have my sisters come on with me. But I was adopted. So I've got biological family, I've got adopted family, I've got blended family, and we got every variation of healthy, unhealthy, crazy. We've got it all, and it's so funny to you need pie charts.
Figure it out.
But it's interesting just to see how, even though you weren't raised with somebody, how their life affects you and what's inherited. Because a lot of our predispositions came from them, and I'm learning that there's a lot of stuff I do that I got real honest,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
and I didn't know. And
Didn't
I'm like,
even
oh,
know
thank God I didn't have a girl. I mean, I'm in so much trouble right now.
Oh my God.
I'm. It would be bad for business because
That's
one of
funny.
one of the things that I've learned is hypersexuality is a symptom of several different issues,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one of the bipolar issues that I didn't
Got
understand.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, that's where that comes from.
You learned a lot, didn't you?
12 years was a long. That's a long sentence.
Not a sentence, child. She said, I'm gonna call it what it is, what it was.
Like that, license have expiration dates, but that one didn't. I had to fix that. I had
Wow,
to
but you found the courage to let it go.
it took longer than I should have, but I was 17 when I started that process.
Oh yeah,
So
girl. Your
it,
frontal lobe wasn't even developed fully.
yeah, that was exactly it. But see, and this is what I learned from me going to therapy is there was a reason that I allowed that situation to happen because I was running from something before that.
Oof. Insight. I'm here for the insight.
Oh, trust me,
I
I
was
could have a
so
whole therapy session on here by myself. I don't, but it's so freeing to understand that too.
Mhm.
Was It wasn't that I was a bad person. It wasn't that I attracted, because they always give you that cliche of you attract what you are and all that. Well, I wasn't fucking crazy. I'm
Exactly.
not. I'm not bipolar. I didn't attract that shit on purpose. But
Mm-mm.
that's what I was open for because I already had these wounds that allowed me to find something to fill them.
Girl,
And
come
that
on.
happened to be what I needed at the moment. He was everything that I needed at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it wasn't right, I didn't understand that because I was too young to
Exactly.
understand.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm paying for it now, 20 years later.
But this
But
insight, though.
yeah, and that's why I love what I do. That's why I love what
Mm-hmm.
I do when I get into coaching and challenging people's paradigms. And okay, if that's your core belief and if that's your value, how come you're acting this way? Because that
Ooh.
doesn't align. So you're telling me one thing,
Mm.
you're doing something else. How are you going to reach that goal when you're going two different directions at the same time?
Two different directions. Girl, come here. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, dang.
I love it. So I mean, but it's when you feeling that breakthrough myself, and I love it because I get to feel it again with all of my clients.
Oh my God.
And it feels so good when somebody finally has that light bulb moment. It doesn't have to be some big life altering,
Mm-hmm.
dramatic change. It was just, okay, I don't have to have the belief that money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
those limiting beliefs or that stuff that got passed down from generations. So I'm only going to go to this church because this is where my mama went and my grandma went and her grandma went. Okay, but
What about you?
you don't
Mm-hmm.
believe what's going on here. And the lady beside you got pregnant by the pastor twice, and that's not his wife. At what point do you
But it,
decide for yourself that this might not be the place for me?
girl, that's so real. Oh my
It
God. That is so real.
It is. But that's what we're guilty of. That's where we sit. We don't do anything outside of the norm because it's uncomfortable.
And we're loyal to it too. We're
We're,
loyal to that
we're
dysfunction.
loyal to a fault. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, we don't know what to do when we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of females, yes, I'm selling us out on this one. A lot of females can't be in a good relationship because they're not comfortable being in a healthy relationship.
And not,
They don't know what to do with it.
girl, come on.
Chaos, if there's not drama, they're gonna go create it.
They're gonna create it. Unfortunately, that's real. I've seen that a lot. You know, if your nervous system isn't activated in that relationship, you feel like it's just, this isn't for me.
Isn't that a chemical? Doesn't that become like a chemical dependency?
I like how you said that, because I like to look at it as love addiction too. Like it's almost like a love addiction.
I mean,
Accepted.
in theory, I mean, I'm
Mhm.
just the nerd in me coming out. So in my head, it goes, there's a hormone that comes out, basically the same way that we have the hormone with sex. We have the
Mhm.
oxytocin and serotonin that come out, and that's why you become addicted to sex or addicted to that person, because you have those hormones. When you have that constant fight or flight, you get that adrenaline hormone, you get those particular hormones,
Yep.
and I feel like if you can become addicted to the oxytocin, why can't you become
You
addicted to
become
the
addicted.
adrenaline?
Well, and it's familiarity. You know, you are addicted to the familiarity of it all. And so the one thing you can say, what for a lot of trauma victims is, especially those who was raised in trauma, whether it was the big trauma or the little trauma, is that their bodies get used to a certain way of behaving or a certain way of experiencing stimuli. And so you take that away from them. At the end of the day, it's like, wait a minute, this is not, what, am I even alive here? You know what I mean? Because what you
Scary.
know is, yeah, it's very scary, until one day they realize, like, and sometimes you don't get this unless you've gone through therapy or someone dropped a nugget, that you realize what you're going through isn't normal. But to them, it's normal, because this is what I know. I know my nervous system to be activated. This is just who I am. And when it's not activated, I don't even know if I'm alive. So you'll find some people who engage in scratching and cutting and, am I here? You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, alcoholism, all of that.
So I have a question that leads me down that road. When someone needs to get that out, and just for lack of intensive purposes, we'll use me as the example. If I need to
Mhm.
get that feeling out, that frustration, that pain, that am I alive out, and I'm not a cutting type of person, how else could that manifest itself? What are some other things that I might do other than alcohol or cutting?
And you know what? We underestimate the power of deep breathing. It sounds like a fluke, like, oh, just go deep breathe and breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. But really, it's about being mindful. And so what happens is, we don't have the ability, sometimes we don't feel like we have the ability to tolerate anything that's uncomfortable or the discomfort. So really, it's about you learn how to sit with that, and so you'll learn how to sit with it in your body. You'll deep breathe to kind of get the physiological responses kind of, in order. Then you'll start to challenge this stuff that's going through your head about whatever feeling that you have. So one thought may be, oh, I cannot tolerate this feeling of unfamiliarity. So we want to challenge that. I want to challenge your belief that you can't tolerate this unfamiliarity, because it starts there. That's one of the places where it starts, because again, this is an unfamiliar feeling you want to run from, you want to fight or flight from. So
Yeah.
people want to flee from it. So I want to get you in a space where we can talk about this unfamiliar feeling and change your relationship with your emotions. So we're no longer running from yourself, because these emotions are a part of you. That's the little girl in you that's probably trying to say something to you. We don't know. What's the little girl trying to communicate to you? So,
That's
so I want to get you in
that's
a
so
space
good
where,
right
yeah, I want to get you in a space where you develop a good relationship with your emotions, where you're not gaslighting yourself, you
there.
know, because we
Oh,
talk about other people
you just
gaslighting
hit
us.
it right there.
Yes, but we would gaslight the hell out of ourselves about
He
these
hurt.
things.
I hurt my own feelings more than anybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an
Mm-hmm.
overthinker and I have the highest expectations of myself, which means I have high expectations of other people and nobody like me. So it's always a behind the eight ball, I'm a fail, I'm a lose situation because
Yes.
I'm already overrun it. See, this is why I go to therapy.
Therapy. We love therapy. That's right.
I feel like I need to. buy my therapist alcohol after every session, but
Oh, you'd be like, I got you,
the least
son.
I can do, you get through what I just did.
Oh, that's funny.
Hilarious. So what can we do? I know some people have a hard time going from work to home. So like sitting in the car,
Mm-hmm.
in the driveway, in either location is self-care. I cannot tell you how long I've sat in my car looking at the front door going, I'm not ready.
Not ready to go.
I
Wow.
cannot do that yet.
Yes. Mm.
How do we go from high stress work to not bringing that home and spewing it on the people in our house?
I think you just said something very important, which is having that space. For you, it's the car space. So you've created a physical boundary between my high stress work environment and my home, which is an oasis for me, or should be, or could be an oasis for me.
Should
So,
be.
so
That is a whole word right there.
yes. So you created a physical boundary, which is the car. And I think the important thing is to be intentional about that space. Whatever that space look like for you, if it's the car, if it's the library, if it's the whatever it is for you, you just have to figure out what that physical space is and be very, very, very intentional about it, so that you're not bringing that in. Because and you may feel like, you know what, I don't have the luxury of sitting in my car for an hour, so you might have to tell the people inside your household, like, okay, I just left a high stress work environment, from 5 to 6. Let me do my me time, because if I can be the best version of me for me, I can then extend that to you guys. So you may have to just communicate, like, I need an hour in the bathroom, I need an hour in my room without having to open my mouth. So
Yeah.
but whatever it is, you have to be intentional about it. You definitely have to be
Yes.
intentional.
I used to, when I was married, my bath routine was
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
And I would literally be in tears, upset when somebody interrupted my bath routine. I'm like, this is the only time I get, because I've got a baby, and then at the time, a 7-year-old. I was going insane,
Mhm.
and I wasn't in therapy, and I didn't think I needed therapy anyway.
Mhm.
Um, and it was outrageous.
You
Like,
needed
I would
that.
be in a puddle because you knocked on the door when I was in the bathtub.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be that dramatic, but it was just earth shattering to me in those moments, because that was the only time that I got where I was alone and at peace for a few minutes.
Yeah, and you needed to recharge. And so it's not just somebody's, knocking on the bathroom door. It's you not filling yourself back up. And you know what I mean? So it's you already an empty cup,
So
and
we
now
were
somebody's,
the guilt in that, though.
yeah. Oh my, yeah.
Guilt in that, though, because it's like, okay, and that's one of the things that even I struggle with, is like sleeping. I'm sorry, but as a mom, especially with, I have a high risk child, sleeping is a luxury we don't have, because
Oh,
for
yeah.
a long time it was breathing. Is he breathing? That was questionable. So
Wow.
you don't sleep well, you can't sleep long, because you have to, check monitors and all that. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with a NICU mom
Mm-mm.
before,
Mm.
but we all have PTSD.
Yeah, you have to, I would imagine.
All have PTSD. I spent 4 months watching my child be prodded, surgeries, flatlining, CPR.
Wow.
When I hear those bells go off, it's automatic. That's a trigger.
I bet.
That's a trigger. So, like, going and visiting people in the hospital is difficult,
Yeah, I
because you
bet.
still hear all of that, and colds. Just having your child get sick is a trigger,
Yeah.
because you've gone through all of that experience. So it's not that, and I want everybody to understand this, if nothing else, it's not that you necessarily have a mental disorder.
Mm-hmm.
life situations that cause you to have mental issues.
Okay. I'm here for
Because
that.
him being in the hospital has nothing to do with my mental health per se,
Mm-hmm.
but what we went through affected me mentally.
Absolutely, and psychologically. Like you have the you have mental illness, and you have things that we are affected psychologically. Like you watching your son breathe, trying to make sure when he coughs, you looking over, hyper vigilant, making sure he's okay.
Mhm.
I can't imagine that has to play on your psyche. You know,
I promise you it does. I promise you it does. And
trauma is something. Whew.
there's a group of us, and that's something that I found that did help was having a group of people who've had similar experiences
Mhm.
to talk to. And
Yeah.
and I'm just using the NICU as an example because nobody understands a baby like we do.
Right. Right.
Okay, everybody's had a baby, everybody's had this birth experience, and they can give you all of this advice and this, that, and the other. Okay, well, when did your child come out to 1 pound and 5 ounces? Oh, you've never had a baby that small? I have. So what are you telling me that I don't know? Do you know how to put an NG tube down and check stats and O2 stats and titrate like, what are you telling me?
Wow.
I have a whole different experience that I have to live with every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are meaning well,
Yeah.
like to say things and give advice. And I try my best not to be that person.
Mhm. She's like, I'm trying.
I try my best not to be that. Well, I mean, because when you've gone through a lot of crap, most of it was self-inflicted, but still, I went there. Um,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I've got all these experiences and I can tell you all about them. And
Mhm.
they could help you if you just listen. But I've learned that I have to shut up and go, I know something about that. If you want to ask me a question, I'm here.
I'm here. Yeah. You put the ball in their court.
Because I was damaging myself trying to take on so many other people's problems. Because I've already been through it. Let me help you through it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm not healed. You're still hurting. You're still bleeding. Go. Hey, I said I was in therapy for a reason. I needed help. And and this is why I do what I'm doing now. It's because this is therapy for me too. This is
Mhm.
part of it. I get to talk about stuff that I'm
Mhm.
curious about, or I feel like they might not listen to me if I say it, but I can bring somebody on to say it and they'll listen. But it's uncomfortable. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk about it. Nobody's like,
Mhm.
you know, and then we're also in a society that's pill happy.
Mhm.
So, okay, well, if I can get a diagnosis for this, I can get these pills and all that. Well, dehydration also has the same symptoms as depression in some cases. So, did you drink enough
Oh,
water today?
girl. Oh
Put you
my
on a good
God.
pill.
That's real though.
It is, but
So
people
real.
won't. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the topic, so they won't drink the water or go to the doctor. It's like pick a struggle.
Struggle. Big struggle. I love it.
It is.
Oh, that's
It's a
so
lot.
real.
But I mean, if we can get somebody some understanding, that's what I'm here for.
No, and I let me just say I appreciate your courage to even, disclose some of your own struggles.
I
Like it's
have
just
never talked about it in public.
wow.
I've never talked about it in public. It's always been a fear,
Yeah,
uh, because it's not just my story. Other people are involved, and it doesn't
sure.
matter um, whether I call names or give dates and all this kind of stuff. Somebody's gonna know me.
Mm,
They're gonna go,
mm,
oh, okay, I know who she's talking about, or they
yeah.
think they know what happened, and so it's always been a fear
Hmm.
to talk about it. I've always had that. What happens in this house?
Days in this house. Yes. You
And
breaking barriers, sis.
I have to let it be okay going, yeah, that did happen and I have to heal.
Yeah. You're
And
giving yourself permission to do it.
and it's extremely uncomfortable. I cannot stand this right now because I know I feel like I've said too much. What kind of damage control do I need to do when I get done? Like that's what I sit in all the time is, okay, how do I fix what I just did? Even though I needed to do it. Okay. So
You'd be
yeah,
second guessing yourself. Like I shouldn't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So but somebody needs to hear it and somebody needs to know that it's okay.
Yeah. And what does it feel like for you disclosing right now? Like even in this moment, you just sharing, does it feel empowering? Does it feel both empowering and scary?
It is absolutely horrifying, but at the same time, the weight
Mm,
gone, the freeing. I've had like I said, 2020, COVID sucks. 2020 has been amazing for me though, because
I'm loving it.
I have had the opportunity to work through so much, challenge myself, learn myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just all that stuff that I always said I never had time to do.
Yeah.
That I all of a sudden had no excuse not to do anymore. Like it's been great.
That's good.
So I refuse to walk out of 2020 the same way I walked in.
That's what's up.
So a lot of things have changed, and I I am I'm doing it on purpose. I'm very intentional. So I every year for my birthday, I pick I don't pick a word. I pray about it for a while, and I end up with a word that is the theme for my year. So I'm 38 now. 37 was be bold. So, and I did some really drastically bold stuff that I wouldn't do. Um, 38 has been intentional.
Mm.
I've had to stop rushing things and be very intentional about what I do, what I say, who I befriend, um, my relationships. And I already know the word for 39. And what's funny is I can already see how it's fulfilling. It's already coming out. And my birthday's in like 24 days. It's election day.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah. And it's a perfect word for it
Yes.
all. So, yeah,
Wow.
39 is freedom.
Freedom. Oh.
And it's manifesting itself in so many ways already. And it's like there couldn't be another word for it.
Oh my God. I'm here for the freedom. Oh my goodness. Woo.
I'm excited. So much has been building, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just now, it's I'm being very intentional about not sabotaging.
Mm-hmm. About not sabotaging. Yeah.
So I'm trying to do everything intentionally and on purpose to make sure I'm making the right decisions, making sure I'm not just second guessing myself because I can talk myself out of everything.
Mm-hmm. 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 We all can.
And yeah, so it's getting into therapy again because I had stopped for a long time because I was fine and I had done enough self work, self help books, and all this kind of stuff. I was good.
Yeah.
I was great until I got into therapy. She asked like 2 questions, and I'm like, oh my god,
Where did that come from?
this is not what I came here for. Okay,
Right.
like I honestly, I legit went in with one thing. This is what I want to work on. This is what I want to discuss. And it was, me validating myself.
Yes. And then.
Well, she shattered that in like 3 minutes. It's like, oh my god.
Ah.
I mean, it's funny because it's like, okay, well, yeah, I do need to handle this and I do need to handle that. And I thought this was fine. And, you know, okay, did you open that wound or was it just never fixed? Like,
Right. Right. Because I'm confused. Yeah.
I thought I was good with that. And she's like, you sure about that?
Oh, but you sound like you're open to the process though.
I am. I am. I
That's good.
love it because, like, everybody has a story, everybody has a past, and it can be really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like you have to stay there. I don't feel like you have to be a victim of your circumstances. I feel like everybody has the opportunity to be something different, change. You know, there's plenty of things that you can do to better yourself. You don't have to stay stuck there. So
Right.
this is one of the ways that I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Education, not necessarily college, but you know, I've done a lot of certificate work. I've done a lot of programs and seminars and workshops and
Good. Good for
that.
you.
So, because education nobody can take from me, and it doesn't matter where I came from
Yeah.
or what I went through. So I don't want to be a victim of, well, that's just the way it's always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just dropped in the chat for anybody who's looking some. Um, it's a link to some public resources.
Mm.
And where did I? It's the World Health Organization or the WHO, and it's resources for the public. So it's managing stress. It gives you an illustrated guide. Mental health during COVID. A book for children about COVID, and then some information on depression, like what should you know living with someone with depression. Are you worried that your child is depressed? Some suicide information. There's some good information out there. How do you feel when you hear somebody say that there's no help for them, though?
Ooh. I tap into their feelings of hopelessness. I try not to make it about me. So when they're like, there's no hope, it's easy for a clinician to be like, but there is hope. You just gotta. To me, I want to empathize with that person because that means that person is really in a space where have been let down by the system. So I want to meet you where you are. You feel like
Mm,
there, you know what I mean? I got to meet you where you are. Me telling you there's hope and you've experienced some trauma with the system. No, I'm gonna meet you right there with your trauma. Like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about there is no hope and what will hope look like. So
like
I
that.
don't make it about me.
I like that a lot
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't feel like, well, I don't have insurance, and
Mhm.
it didn't work. I tried it before, or I don't know anybody that goes, or that's not what we do is go to
Mhm.
therapy. Let's take it spiritually. I got Jesus. I'm gonna pray about it, well, baby. Prayer is not gonna help you.
Girl, you better get you some Jesus and some. If you need your meds, get some meds. If you
I'm
need to
saying,
take a walk, you come on here.
you can pray and meditate and all of that, but I'm gonna need you to do it while you're taking your lithium, please.
Please do. I'm gonna need you to do that. It's serious, serious.
Concentrate on your prayers better if you're medicated.
It's so serious. Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of that's a really big thing in our community is pray it away. I'm gonna pray for you because Jesus.
Mhm.
And I am the first believer, the first one to tell you to pray about it all. The Bible clearly says not to worry, to pray.
Mhm.
But I'm imperfect, and I
Right.
don't just do everything the Bible says clearly. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna worry. I always worry. And I stress myself out, and we end up with anxiety issues and panic attacks, which biting into the lemon during a panic attack does work.
Okay. I'll write that down.
Uh, it is okay
Mm-hmm.
to see a doctor. I mean, when Jesus was on earth, he was healing people. It's okay to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he not be accepting of you going, it says to seek wise counsel.
You got to have Jesus, and I saw I think it was a preacher. I don't know who he was, but he was trending on Facebook, and he said, "Get you Jesus and a therapist."
Yes.
So I'm like, you can have both. You can have both.
It's a wonderful tag team.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely recommend it. So let's see here. Let me see if I went through all of my questions. We have reasons to go to therapy. What are some good reasons to go to therapy?
If you want to go to therapy just to go, I think self-awareness. Self-awareness is huge. If you're going through an existential crisis at the moment, go to therapy. If you got people you living with that you just can't stand, go to therapy. Go to therapy. And obviously, if you are decompensating, you want to go to therapy for sure.
I think COVID is doing an amazing job for lawyers and therapists right now.
Yeah. For real though.
Because you're getting divorced or you're going to therapy. I mean, but something, yeah, there's
Yeah.
either that or you quarantine tots and you need therapy after.
All of that.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
Oh.
See, that's my tot right there.
Oh, I heard him.
Okay, I'll be there in a minute. I'm almost done.
Oh. He's so cute.
Yeah, you feed him. He's not that cute. He eats you out of house and home. I don't know how my 5-year-old eats more than my 13-year-old. Like, it's really weird.
No, he stay hungry, huh?
But they are garbage disposals. It's insane. So yes, I feel like it should be mandatory.
I think I wish they would do it in the schools, like
Yes.
more than just a school counselor, but to really like hone in on mental health and emotional health
Definitely feel like, and it's something that they should start when they're little. I don't feel like you should wait until high school, because if I teach them young how to handle their emotions, can you imagine what we could head off when puberty hits? And then like that would be 4th through 6th grade is like that optimal window where they need the most help. But if you can start earlier than that, just to get them prepared.
Exactly. Well, they have PE, physical ed. They need mental ed.
Right. They do. Now they're pushing out drones instead of productive citizens. But that's a whole nother show, how I feel on that. But one of the things that I said about relationships when before you get married, I feel like everybody should go to marriage counseling and to see a divorce lawyer.
I agree.
Because without properly appreciating the struggles of a marriage or what you could lose when you end a marriage, you won't appreciate what you have and what you're building. And I feel like therapy is the same way. I feel like everybody should go, one, for the experience, but two, you don't realize what you're sitting with.
Oh my God, yes.
Sometimes you're just comfortable in it, or it doesn't bother you at the moment, or something like that. Because I thought I was doing really good.
Because it's familiar.
I thought I was doing really good because I went through all of these problems, and I moved cities and I got divorced and I went through all of this. I mean, it was a breath of fresh air. I thought I was doing great. And 3 years later, and I'm single, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go date. And I start dating. I'm like, oh crap, this is what we do? No. And it was like everybody was horrible, everybody was wrong. And I went with the intent of, okay, I can't be crazy. This
You're
is
not.
it's madness out here, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
this is what I'm being confronted with. Am I overreacting? Because I'm the one
Mhm.
that will like make somebody read to me out loud, and if you can't read right, then you don't get a call back.
Yeah.
Yeah, please tell me that I'm not crazy, that this is nuts out here. And she's like, no, baby, we need to fix you too. I was like, so yeah,
But you're open, so that's good.
yeah. So I didn't have a choice. I got to be okay. I have to be healthy because I want, there's so much that I want coming up
Mhm.
and that I need to be ready for and I need to prepare for. And I feel like this is an essential part of it. You know, if I'm going to
Yeah.
run a marathon, I need to run at some point, right? So like, I want a
That's
healthy
training.
relationship and I want healthy kids. So I have to do something about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
I'm
So I
proud
have
of you.
your information scrolling at the bottom.
Yes.
So tell everybody where they can find you because they're going to hear us on the podcast and can't see what's scrolling. So tell them where to find you.
You can find me on psychologytoday.com. Just look, search LaShonda Wooten, and my information will pop up. All of it.
Awesome.
Yep.
And we're right over an hour. So I won't keep you too long because I know Mondays suck.
I know, girl, and I got a long day.
Give everybody your, I don't know, good word for the, a thought, whatever floats your boat. Tell us something good.
Self-care, self-care, self-care. Love yourself enough to self-care. And I'll say this, a lot of times we don't love ourselves perfectly, and that's okay. That's fine. But be intentional about something for you. Even if it's getting up an extra hour. Me personally, I don't do that. I don't get up an extra hour. I'm sleeping in an extra hour. That's my self-care. But find opportunities to be there, to show up for yourself.
I love that. I love that. Mine is kind of the same every week, and it's really the theme of whatever I'm doing here. Be okay being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Outside that comfort zone is where amazing things happen, and that's what I want. I want those amazing things, and I'm okay with being uncomfortable. So I'm bringing everybody with me.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do it together and
Do it together.
fun with it. And like always,
Mhm.
meditate, cuss, eat fruit and wings, hydrate with water and whiskey. Don't judge me because that's what's in my cup right now. No, I haven't twerked in a long time. I might need to work on
Keep it
that.
going.
I need to get your exercise videos. I be seeing you exercise and I be looking at you going, I'm gonna
I'm
die.
loving it.
Like I can breathe when I watch you.
You're so funny. I'm loving it.
Me and this
Hmm.
quarantine weight was no joke. I gotta get rid of it because I'm not going to put on any tight clothes anytime soon. But thank you so much for hanging
You're
out.
so welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
And if you ever need us, need the platform, whatever we can do to help you, let us
Oh,
know.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you, and I'm so proud of you. I'm here for it. I love it. Have a good one.
You too.
Adios.